Sactown Sports.
Our guys with us, Anthony Slater. Warriors and Kings tonight, Anthony Slater, before a national TV audience, huh? Rivalry week.
Buddy Hield's down there. That's part of the rivalry, right? He's warming up.
Yeah, he's been out there for a minute, too. A while getting those shots up.
He's been trying to bust out of a slump.
Yeah.
Say that.
Yeah. Come on, Shivano, you can do it. So, Slates, what is the mental state of this Warrior team that comes into Gold One Center tonight?
Not good. They're, I think, 9-18 in their last 27.
Yeah.
It's 2 months now. It's 2 months of bad basketball. They're the 26th ranked offense since November 23rd. So that's 2 months of being, if you look at the teams around them, it's Hornets, it's Magic, or, Magic are actually a good team, not a good offense. But they can't score. And it's led to a lot of losses, which has tumbled them down to the standings. To now they're sitting there still in the 10 spot, but only because they went 12-3 to start. It's the only thing that saved them.
Right.
They're in the mix, but they're playing much, more poorly than any team near them.
Anthony Slater joining us. Were you there for that Boston game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One thing that I know. Sorry, at least you got paid to be there. You know what I mean? At least it's part of the job.
I didn't have to pay attention in the fourth quarter.
Right. It was. Hey, Steph Curry. Yeah. I'm looking at how the losses are piling up. His body language after. What's the solution? For him. And I know I'm not saying demand a trade or he's going to be, but I hate to see an all-time great just sulking like that on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, he's really competitive, and it's, dealing with the reality of the situation, which is it's like a fading franchise, fading era.
Yeah,
it's not a franchise. The losses sting him on a daily basis, and to be honest, they thought they were going to be better entering the season. You had people telling me preseason like 50, they were aiming for 50 wins. It felt optimistic. I was thinking probably more mid 40s, but right now, like over a large sample now, they're playing like a 28 win team. And he's struggling to handle that. Now, there's also it rises into this existential question about the future, and do you trade a bunch of picks to try to help him now? Do you trade him now and, try to maximize, I guess your rebuild or speed it up? But the problem is he's Steph Curry. I think if we were just having a cold-hearted, we were playing a video game right now, fantasy football, let's say, it would make sense to trade Steph Curry. Right. But that's not reality. Yeah. You're not going to trade him. And as much as he would love to be on a winner and end his career on a winner, it's obviously looking a little bit more like Kobe Bryant's last several seasons with the Lakers. But I have a tough time imagining him wanting to hit the eject button, considering I think he wants the Dirk career, the Tim Duncan career. The problem is they never got the Kawhi Leonard to kind of drag him along at the back end. They whipped on the lottery picks, and they're dealing with the consequences.
Yeah, it's interesting, Slates. Right now everything for the Kings seems to be trending upwards, and for the Warriors the opposite direction. But if the Warriors win tonight, as you well know, they're tied in the standings. Yeah. So be that as it may, with Doug Christie, is there any way he does not get the interim tag removed after the end of this season?
Yeah, I mean, if they reverse their trend now,
that's unthinkable.
I mean, they're about to go on a really tough 6-game trip, which I know.
Be a part of that.
Get ready, pack some bags. No, it's if they make the playoffs firmly, I got to think, considering his stature and where it was when he took over to where it would theoretically then be if they got into the playoffs, maybe made a little first round noise. You got to think that would probably lead to an interim tag. I'm not even sure that it's possible it gets lifted prior to the end of the season if this keeps trending in a positive direction. Now, to answer your question, is there any chance? Yeah, they are still sitting in that playing mix where a bad 10-game stretch, a 2-8 10-game stretch.
I should have asked how likely.
Yeah,
because obviously there is.
That's dependent on how much you believe in what's happening. And how much they can sustain it. And then also what potentially happens at the deadline, which I know we talk about every week, and it's still the same situation.
I wasn't going to bring it up this time. Yeah.
Hey, you want to talk Cam Johnson?
Right. Can we do that? Yeah.
But, it's going well, and, he's clearly had an effect on him. I do wonder when it comes down to, when they go through some rougher patches, when you don't, it feels like there's that a little initial new coach buzz, new coach bump that they're getting, especially from an emotional and energy standpoint. When maybe that lessens when you go on a tough road trip, when you lose 2 out of 3, how do they sustain beyond that? We'll see. It's very early.
Slates, let's talk trade deadline. Let's, because we got conflicting reports out there.
Oh, no.
One report saying, the Kings and Nets are haggling over protections of first-round picks. Another is saying they haven't talked about Cam in weeks. What are you hearing on the trade front?
I believe Cam Johnson is likely to be moved.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that Brooklyn has held pretty firm to a steep asking price. Clearly, the Kings and others have been unwilling to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there has been conversations. And again, sometimes that doesn't mean, GM ultimate decision maker and GM ultimate decision maker. There's like 18 people within these franchises, right. And oftentimes, what are phone calls that are happening, who's talking to what. But the Kings are still in the mix on mm-hmm. Cam Johnson. Mm-hmm. And we'll see how high they're willing to take their price, if that beats everybody else's. But I do think, the deadline is toughest for a team like Brooklyn, who, that's their moment where they have to make the choice. How much are they willing to take? Mm-hmm. So I think we'll know probably on February 5th or 6th. So next time I talk to you, it still won't be February 5th.
I know. Dang.
We're still probably
got 2 weeks away.
I know one of the things that's been reported, and obviously Brooklyn would like this to be reported, is that they don't have to trade him because he could still fit their timeline. Do you think that's obviously it's possible?
Yeah.
Do you think from their standpoint that's something they could live with if they end up keeping him?
Sure, if they really don't like the offers, but I think even getting 1 first for him right now, mm-hmm. that's not guaranteed in the summer. Slumps happen, injuries happen, teams change priority. For example, they got a few seconds for Dennis Schroeder and traded him to the Warriors, and I know part of that was them wanting to lose and getting Schroeder off the team mm-hmm. helps them lose, but it was also like, man, Schroeder's really hot right now. Get off him while his market's high. Schroeder's been terrible for the Warriors.
Right.
If they tried to reflip Schroeder on the market right now, you're not getting what you got a month ago. So there's risk in waiting. But there's benefit. Chicago's another team. Nikola Vucevic shooting a career high from 3 right now, like 43%, mm-hmm. averaging 20 a game. Zach LaVine healthy for the first time in a couple of years. Have you seen his?
He's killing it out there. Yeah.
So if you're Chicago, sure, you can maybe go, hey, look, we'll just keep him. He's been awesome. But then it's like, okay, what if he either has another flare up of the knee or those numbers go back to career levels? He's 45% from 3. Well, career he's 37. So you got to weigh a lot of things if you're these teams.
What about?
Sorry about that. I'm just watching our boys warm up down there. Not missing a shot out there. Guys are splashing it. Sorry about that.
What is he shooting the last month or so? It's really kind of slowly ticking up.
Yeah, he's ticking up. Even though he had a rough shooting game last game. But prior to that, I got those right here. You're asking the right guy, big fella.
That's such a
more confident.
And I like and I appreciate all the conversations about the trades that the entire league does, and we obviously do on a weekly basis. But to me, that is him playing the way he has and continuing his ascent back upwards where we thought we were going. That's one of the most.
What is he? Do you think though? Ultimately, when it's all said and done, because we talking about bringing in Cam or somebody else. He's still our starter, though, right? He's still the starting.
Not only that, when you talk to them, off year 1 where he set an NBA record, 3's going into year 2. Remember that summer league here? He scored 41.
Yeah, 40-some points. Yeah,
you were hearing a little there's some Kawhi Leonard in there. Remember that? That it was them thinking he was on an all-star path. He's clearly on a very good NBA starter path because he already is one. Will he ever be an all-star? I think that's a big question of his career. Does he hit that level of player? He's become a lot better defender than I ever thought he would.
Yes.
As an offensive player, creator, maybe he's plateaued. Obviously, his shooting percentages have gone down. That's a big question, I think, for them long term. Mm-hmm. Because I think if they're really going to compete, and I'm talking you get to a conference finals, I think they would need that level of jump from somebody.
Mm. And I think
he's the candidate.
Yeah, I give him credit. I think they've felt that way too, and that's why they, in all the trade conversations the last 2 years, nope, we're not trading Keegan. They know that without Keegan being the best he can be, whether he's here or not, they're not going to be the team that they can be.
The concern, though, is if they're wrong about that.
Right.
This is what he is. Then it's maybe,
which is a good player, good solid starter. Yeah. But to your point, they need him to probably take a lead.
What do you think, in theory, Jimmy Butler could bring to the Suns if that all comes to fruition?
He's better than Bradley Beal. He's more sturdy playoff performer. He lifts his game up at that level. He's better on both ends. Two-way. They need a two-way wing. Beal's more of a scoring 2-guard whose percentages of dips, he doesn't really defend that much. Like, he would be an upgrade. Now, the problem is, how do they get that done with Beal? Beal has a no-trade clause that he has to agree to go somewhere. The other team has to agree, yeah, we want Bradley Beal, who has maybe one of the worst value contracts in the league. And they have to use all these moving parts. Like, I'm still skeptical that gets done.
You're skeptical that Butler goes to Phoenix?
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be moved? And is that the domino that a lot of teams are waiting for, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think somewhat. This isn't exactly like free agency where it's like, you're waiting on the big domino to sign and then everyone else does. Because I think there's a lot of smaller scale deals that are unrelated to Butler. Warriors, for example. I know that, they're interested in Vucevic. That's not waiting on Butler. Kings, if the Cam Johnson, if they up their price to the point that, Cam Johnson, the Nets would give him now, that has nothing to do with Butler. As far as, do I think Butler gets moved? Kind of don't.
Damn.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be really hard, and clearly the Heat have dug themselves in on not accepting those really lower level unvaluable trade packages. But we'll see. The problem is he really wants to go to Phoenix. Phoenix really wants him, but it's completely contingent on Bradley Beal and the no trade clause. And that no trade clause is like, how does that get solved?
Yeah.
Aren't the Warriors one of the teams that in the past has been on Bradley Beal's list of teams he'd be willing to be traded to? That doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
Yeah, I mean, the contract's not good.
Yeah,
He's really declined, as far as like on-court, product over the last couple of years. And the one thing he said, and he said it when he went from Washington to Phoenix, is it wasn't just like, okay, I waived my no-trade clause, so now I go to you, and now I no longer have a no-trade clause. No, he has made it, no, I'm taking my no-trade clause with me. He took it from Washington to Phoenix. So he's telling any team that, because he holds all the cards here, he's telling anybody who wants to trade for him, like, I'm bringing my no-trade clause with me. And that's unappealing to teams.
You think Domas will make the All-Star event?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's not game. It's not a game.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know either, and I have to attend it this year because it's down the road. I think he's going to be right on that like wild card level. Him and Fox are going to be right in that mix. I was just listening to something that was really going through the back end of the West and the East All-Stars. And again, I mean, Sabonis isn't going to want to hear this, but it's a lot easier in the East on that, 10, 11, 12 spot where I think he'd be an easy in, maybe Fox too, if they were in that conference. But, he's going to be going up against, names like Jaren Jackson, Devin Booker, Jalen Williams of the Thunder. Like, the one thing that's helped both of them is just they're winning. I think it would have been a really tough case if they were the 12-13 seed and they were 7 games under 500. But now that they're over 500 and on the rise, I think as coaches, because it's a coach decision, right? As coaches take a look at this over the next few days, Sabonis' numbers are insane. They always are.
Right.
Maybe. He might need injuries, by the way. Or, like Luka asking out of the game. Maybe if Kyrie doesn't play the game. Maybe if there's one more, that might help.
Right. Anthony Slater joining us. Slate's obviously, the team 9-2 under Doug Christie. Yeah. How sustainable is this? Is this who the Kings are right now, you think?
Some people would say it's who they kind of were prior to Doug Christie showing up. If you look at the numbers, I mean, it was bad clutch time luck, obviously. But it said they were, maybe like the 12th, 13th best net rating team in the league. And I know fans don't want to like go into all like the metrics, but like even the Kings internal analytics people were telling, the coaching staff and people around like, hey, like we're better than the record says. I mean, we would talk about it on the radio. Like it was like they shouldn't have this poor record.
Yeah.
So that's obviously flipped. Like they're playing better. The players are clearly more energized and focused and fresh. But they're also, digging that Philly game out with a 15-0 run late. Somehow surviving that Miami double overtime game.
Right.
Squeaking by the Rockets. All those swing games are flipping their direction. So that, like, I'm not sure it's – I guess to your question, I don't think it's sustainable at a 9-2 every 11 games record. But I think they've always been a 45-ish win pace team. And now they're back to that. So I do think they're going to win at a good level. Moving forward, although I do want to see this road trip. I mean, at Denver tomorrow on a back-to-back, then flying to New York.
Then the Knicks,
and then you end Thunder Wolves.
Yeah,
that's tough.
So, Slates, are you saying, in your opinion, even if they don't make a move, that this is still a team that could win around 45-ish?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, they're basically have played themselves back to about that pace.
Right.
It's funny. So, I was at their shoot around this morning. DeRozan was talking prior, and you could tell he's like 6 seed. Got to be 6
Right.
And it's like, he's really adamant about it, where I think because of how poorly they started record-wise, everyone's like, hey, just get back in the play-in mix.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can tell internally, and from DeRozan, because he's lived the Chicago life of play-in every year, he's like, please get me away from the play-in. And to me, now that we've seen who they can be, maybe they add, that has to be the target. Like, just that to me might be the separation between a positive, like a good season and a bad season, is the 6 seed and the 7 seed. Go get that 6. It's there because look what's going on around them.
Right.
Dallas, they lose lastly for a couple months today. Luka's already out. They're tumbling. Minnesota, I've seen them lose to this not great Warriors team 3 times lately.
Yeah.
Phoenix, the Warriors themselves.
Did you almost just call the Warriors terrible?
Almost. I mean, they've been. They've like over 2 months. They have.
Yeah.
We'll see tonight, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. The great Anthony Slater with us as we get ready for the Kings and the Warriors. So as far as Doug Christie's influence, I know, what do you think it is mostly? Is it just the bump, or is there more to it than that you think is going to be sustainable?
Yeah, I mean, look, the players have talked about feeling fresher because they're practicing less. And, like the simplified schemes. And clearly, like, they have felt more energized, and you've seen that on the court.
Mm-hmm.
So if like anytime, I mean, y'all know, like half of the battle is just having the players like playing with like a ferocity on a nightly basis, and that has been there. And you're going to win a lot of games in this league just playing harder than
it's some of that cliche stuff, but they're actually putting it in practice.
Yeah. Now, like, there's a question about sustainability over the long term, as we've talked about, but it came at a time the players seemed to need it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Slates, obviously a tough thing that happened to Mike Brown.
Yeah.
Everybody loved him around here. Do you think he gets another head coaching job? Do you think he has the drive to coach again anytime soon? What's next for him?
I know he does have the drive
to
coach again. I know he is interested long-term in having another head coaching job. I think he'll be in the mix. I think he's highly respected. He's 2-time coach of the year, obviously. He's shown an ability to turn franchises around. And I think as we retell the story of kind of this era of the Kings over the last several years, well, let's say the Kings go on a run this year. Doug Christie obviously will get plenty of credit, but I think Mike turning them back to a respectable professional organization should be noted. And what he did in that, he just like the culture he brought immediately as he potentially pitches himself to the next team, whoever that would be as far as the head coach. It's like, look how quickly he was able to build a respectable product in Sacramento. We'll see. It's like this league is so much about relationships and who franchises you connect with and what those situations are. But I think he'll be an appealing name over the next couple hiring cycles.
When can we look forward to something in the pipeline from you and Sam Amick on the goings-on behind closed doors of the Kings?
Oh, man. We'll see. We'll see. It may drop any morning. It may be 2 months from now.
Come on.
I gave y'all advance notice.
Last time you did, right? Yeah.
I think that was when the Lakers were and Rich Paul showed up.
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks, Slates.
All
right, man.
We'll see you downstairs. Yeah.
Enjoy the game, big fella. All right, now.
Anthony Slater from The Athletic. Make sure you're following him on Twitter and checking out everything that he's got, along with his partner, Sam Amick, in The Athletic. Yeah.